And to help you do that, we will move on to our guest speaker. Our amazing presenter has been a prominent member and leader for a decade now. And if that isn't enough, she was also the division director this past year, awarding her for her exceptional work. Her enthusiasm and passion for Toastmasters have led her to work on many events and activities, making her quite knowledgeable when it comes to different aspects of Toastmasters. Today, I've asked Terry Abramovitz to show us how we can utilize open houses to benefit our clubs. When you leave here, you'll have more resources to help your club soar to the top. Please welcome Terry Abramovitz.
All right, thank you, Sue. All right, and good morning, everyone. So we are here today to help our clubs be their best. And we do this by expanding our knowledge and collaborating with other leaders. Right, so as Sue mentioned, I'm here to show you how hosting an open house will benefit your club. So when you leave here, you'll have more resources to take your club to the next level. And before I get started, I just want to mention that there will be some Q&A at the end. And if you would please jot down your questions, you could put them in the chat, and then I will address those during the Q&A portion. And Sue Wilson will help me by monitoring the chat and helping facilitate that portion. All right. So let's start off by thinking about what are we offering? So we're trying to show visitors the benefits of being a Toastmaster by providing a memorable club experience and communicating the results they'll enjoy. So there are a lot of benefits to hosting an open house that go beyond the actual event. So let's talk about those. So planning an open house, going through that process allows us to generate new ideas, new ways of doing things in our club, and implementing improvements, and of course, attracting visitors. So I found that people do enjoy attending an open house rather than a regular meeting. I think maybe it feels special, maybe less intimidating. They'll be with a group of other visitors. And plus, our district offers, and Toastmasters International offers us incentives on hosting an open house and bringing in new members. All right, so let's get started. All right, when I start thinking about an open house, I like to be strategic about it. And so that's what we are doing as leaders. We are implementing some strategies to help our clubs. And so why do we need an open house? That's a question to answer. When should we schedule it? And what results are we hoping for? So the first thing I like to do is know my club. So know your club. As an officer, I spend a lot of time on the dashboard, the Toastmasters dashboard. And I hope as an officer, you spend a lot of time there as well. If you don't look at it regularly, I suggest you go out there and make a habit of doing that. From there, you'll get a picture of where your club currently stands. And you'll have access to other clubs so you can see how you compare. So for an open house, I like to know, how many members do I have? How many members do we need? So on the dashboard for your particular club, you'll see your membership. Your base is where you started off in July 1st, and your to-date value is what you have today. And then at the bottom, it'll say how many you're required And that requirement is to participate in the Distinguished Club program. To get that award that Saurav mentioned earlier, like a distinguished award, you'll need membership requirement. Then another portion of that page is also where you are with bringing in new members. So in this particular case, this club has brought in 3 new members, and the goal is actually to get a total of 8. And for doing that, you'll get 2 DCP points for that. And it helps your club obviously bring in new members, and that's 8 members. It's 2 members a quarter. Again, being strategic, think about what can I do each quarter to try and bring in at least 2 members. You can use the Moments of Truth materials provided by Toastmasters International to evaluate your club, improve the guest and member experience. So a few years ago, I gave a member retention presentation at an officer training where I compared the club experience with a dining experience. I think we've all had a variety of experiences while dining out. Think about the amazing ones versus just the okay ones. What made the difference? So I'd like to say what makes the difference is the planning. The planning and the preparations that go into that dining experience or that club experience will make the difference. So regularly evaluating your club's experience is always beneficial, not just when planning an open house. Another thing to be strategic about is knowing the membership renewal dates. Those are September 30th and March 31st. Knowing those dates and planning open houses around these dates can help you boost your membership during the periods where you may have experienced some member loss. All right, we're going to get into some details now about planning an open house. This is something that I've done with my clubs. You can have an open house of any level, just like a dining experience. You could have, hey, let's just have a meeting. We'll call it an open house. We'll have a couple extra things. We'll give that a go. Or you can really take it up a notch and plan every detail of that meeting. Everything is planned out and practiced and ready to put on what I like to call like the show. Let's think about our planning. We need to promote our open house. Website, social media, newspaper, or online newspapers, registration sites, something like Meetup or Eventbrite where it can be available to a wider audience. So think about this. If you're back in your strategy and you want to bring in, let's say 3 new members. Well, 3 new members is going to require obviously more than that attending. Not everyone who attends will join. You need to think about who's going to register. Let's say you've got 20 registrations. Well, maybe half of that will attend. So then you've got 10 attendees, and now you're trying to get 3 new members. So it's all a numbers game as far as what your goals are for getting folks to your open house. So just think about what you want to achieve and always go for the higher numbers. You just, again, it's just all numbers. And so we like to look at one of my clubs. We like to look at, okay, half are going to show up. And, a smaller percentage, not even half, will join. So think about that. Graphics and flyers attract folks to your open house like you would to your restaurant. Make it inviting, make it welcoming, have all the information they'll need, make it clear. and take advantage of those folks in your clubs who are good at creating graphics. They will help promote your open house and promote your club. All right, let's look at preparations. The agenda. The agenda is where I spend a bulk of the time. The agendas for open houses, I think, are special. They're special in the sense that you may not do every role you typically would do, but you want to add extra special things to the agenda, maybe a guest speaker, plan your table topics to be very inclusive on your audience, make it easy, not intimidating. You want folks to participate. Add in a Q&A session into the agenda. Make sure all your participants are introduced. I know we're not always great in introducing all of our participants with a nice, more than just welcome, Terry, but a nice introduction for those folks. It's very special. The guests get to know who you are. It pumps you up. It gets you ready to do whatever part of the meeting that you're assigned to take care of. So I write up all the introductions for everyone on the agenda and make sure that those are shared. Guest packets. Okay, you can do this online or in person. Guest packet. So if either way, you're going to have an application, you want that pre-filled out with whatever today's rate is. Don't make anyone in your club have to remember all the dues amounts. For the guests to have to ask a lot of questions about it, just complete the application with the amounts at the bottom and your club at the top. The club one sheet is nice. It's a one sheet of paper that describes your club, gives them a little bit more information about it, and gives them the steps to take to become a member. Make it very simple. 1, 2, 3. This is what you need to do. Brochures are great to include into the packet as well. Again, this could all be an online packet or a physical packet. And then practice. Practice is great. Probably on Zoom. Even if I have an online club, we might just do the practice on Zoom. Run through your agenda. Make sure everyone is ready to go, what they want to say, how we want to proceed through that open house. Make it very clean. And like I said earlier, a good show. Extras. Extras makes us extraordinary. So some of the extras are photographer. In person, take photos of your open house. You can use those later to post on social media, on your website. If you're on Zoom, take a group photo on Zoom. Remember your decor, your banner, your signs, any club awards that you have. Name badges, sign-in sheet, and then prizes or giveaways. So for our in-person open houses, we like to do a raffle or give away prizes as part of table topics. Make it fun, extra fun for your guests. We want this very welcoming environment where they feel very comfortable and had a good time. Follow up is key. So first of all, offer a Q&A during your open house and answer their questions. This is going to be helpful for your guests if they have anything that they need to know, didn't understand. Take that time during Q&A to explain the application, explain what's in the guest packet. And I always like to be prepared with answers before I know the questions, just in case you're faced with silence. So then you can just offer, hey, I bet you're wondering about the application, and answer that question. And then make sure you have a guest follow-up plan and you execute it. This is key. Not every guest will sign up at your event, although we wish they would, but execute that follow-up plan. Make sure that the sign-in sheet, however you've done it, whether it's online or on a piece of paper, make sure those are complete, and that you've got emails and maybe social media posts to follow up with those guests. And really the best way to follow up with a guest are personal phone calls. Personal phone calls will help every time. You can answer some extra questions, help them complete the application. So one of my clubs, we like to set up personal appointments so that they can get their questions answered and we can help them get started. Incentives. So there's incentives available to your club for hosting an open house and bringing in new members. So one of these is the Membership Building Awards. And so again, when I mentioned being strategic around these dates. In these particular cases, this is Toastmasters International. You'll receive a ribbon and a discount to the store when you add five new dual or reinstated members during a particular time period. So if you want to try to go for this award, again, be strategic as to when you hold your open house. Next is our our district incentives. So in this case, if we hold an open house and we sign up at least 3 members because of that open house, then we will receive some funds, and our vice president of membership will receive a briefcase bag. And I don't know about you, but I'd say a number of times the sponsor is forgotten about on the membership application. So if you've worked directly with a guest, whether you invited them, whether you answered their questions, whether you had the personal interview with them, make sure that your name gets added as the sponsor on the application. Because as we sponsor new members for our clubs, we are working towards this incentive to receive the membership sponsor pin or even a discount at the store. So do not overlook the sponsorship portion. It is on the second page of the application. Resources. So what I did for this presentation is I went ahead and added a number of the things that are on the slides and some additional links to resources under resources and then host an open house. So I wanted you to walk away with the resources as I mentioned up front. So this is how you're going to do that. You're going to go to the District 18 website, resources, host an open house. And you'll see, again, even more information than I actually presented this morning on hosting an open house. Okay, one other thing I want to mention is pathways related. As officers, we must know pathways. We must know what's available in there to help our members and help ourselves. And of course, our club. So I pulled out 5 projects in pathways where you can get credit for planning your open house or being on the team for planning the open house. So take advantage of getting these projects completed on your path. Sometimes I'll say to folks, hey, remember to look in pathways, you can get credit, and they have this blank stare towards me. So look at your path, make sure you understand all the levels and what projects are on those levels. And then when you do something for your club, get credit for it. All you need to do is, let's say, host an open house. One of these is like manage successful event. You manage the open house, it gets executed, and then you deliver a speech about it. And what's great about that is the speech is a great way to summarize what you did, how it went, maybe some thoughts for how we could do it better next time. So always be thinking, hey, what am I doing in Toastmasters and how can I get credit for it in Pathways? I never let those opportunities slip by. All right, I am going to stop sharing now, and we have some time for some questions. So if you feel more comfortable, post them in the chat and Sue will help me manage those. Or you could raise your virtual hand. Now keep in mind the timer has his hand raised because I am going to be watching for my time. But we could ignore that particular hand. And let me stop share first so I can see everyone. And all right, Catherine, I see your hand is raised. Hey.
Yes. So thank you for that overview of open houses. And I know you said that on the agenda for an open house, you're making things special. Should there be in the open house something saying this is why you should be a member? Because I know that a lot of times people are nervous about talking about how much it costs. Usually they do that, all right, go see, our vice president of membership, Catherine, and she'll explain it to you. Like, should we do a rah, rah, rah? We want you as a member.
Okay, so here's something interesting, Catherine. I have a friend who just got a job selling RVs. And I said to him, I said, remember, you're not selling RVs. What are you selling? You're selling the experience, right? You're selling the results of that particular thing. So we want to make sure we understand from our guests, and that's when you have guests introduce themselves at meetings, is to find out what they're looking for. So then in the end, you can answer that. Say, this is going to be the way for you to speak when you're asked a question in a meeting and not feel so nervous about it, or be more comfortable doing a Zoom presentation, something like that. Whatever they're coming for. Yep. You have to answer that question. How are you solving their problem?
Okay. And based on your experience in Toastmasters, when you've held open houses in the past, when is like, can you say like, well, we had this open house and we signed up 4 new members compared to this other time? Is there some kind of magic that you can work on your guests to get them to be Toastmasters? Like, what have you noticed is most effective at an open house?
That's a really good question. There's a number of things. Being effective at an open house, first of all, you've got to be on your game. Enthusiasm, smiling, welcoming, making sure that they're like, this is where I want to spend my time, right? The other thing we've done is, I guess, working personally with them. So in a bigger meeting, I guess it's a little more difficult, but afterwards, make sure somebody personally speaks with each of your guests. And then that's where you've got to divide up your members and not forget the guests, right? So I know I have a trouble in open houses where I want to speak to 3 of the people, but if I'm speaking to one and I get, stuck there, right? Then I can't focus on the other. So that's where the members have really got to jump in and answer their questions and really tell their personal experience, for example, and what Toastmasters has done for them.
All right, great. Thank you. And I love this
Thanks,
presentation.
Catherine. Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. How are you doing?
I just want to hi, everybody. I just want to expound on it a little bit, just a little bit to share with you a successful open house we had. And we did 3 things that were commented on by the guests that made it successful. One, we did do a lot of table topics, but we didn't force anyone. And we started with our members doing it until the guests got comfortable. 2, fortune in the follow-up. So we divvied up the amount of guests to our officers, and our officers reached out to those guests. So one officer reached out to 3, the next one reached out to 3 more, and that's where we got feedback, and that did it. But this was the kicker. What really got them, and we got a lot of comments back on, was we did a recognition while we were doing the open house. So in that, we had 2 Toastmasters that completed a level, or back in that day, it was confident communicator. They were getting their CC, and there was one who was getting a CL. So what we did during the open house, we recognized them and gave them kudos and a little token of our appreciation for growing the club by being a member. But we did in completing their journey, basically. So what we did it was actually doing recognition during open house, and people took to that. They want to be recognized. Everyone wants to feel special. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Excellent. And those are all examples of those extras I was talking about, making it a little extraordinary. Oh, Jim.
Yes, I have a question. You did mention some ways to publicize the open house. One of my clubs did 2 open houses, and I think at one open house we got 0 guests. At another one, I think we got 1 guest. Beyond what I heard is the best way to get a guest to a meeting is to invite someone. Of all the things you've mentioned, what is the best way to get guests to attend?
Okay, so here's a couple ideas. One is have a registration. Drive them to a registration and have them sign up for the open house. That gives them a little extra, skin in the game to say, hey, I'm going to attend this, right? The other thing is one of my clubs, we have people register for every meeting online. That's guests and members. And so we have a continuous list of contact information for anyone who has shown interest in our club, whether they attended or not. And so that's our list that we use when we're marketing an upcoming open house to say, hey, you've shown interest in our club in the past. We welcome you to our open house. And here's the benefits that you'll receive from attending. So that's another idea. But I always like to know who I'm expecting. I don't really like to have an open house where I just say, hey, we're having an open house with no way to know of anyone who might be interested. So have a registration, put it on Meetup. So you could put it on Meetup, of course. If you're not using Meetup, use Meetup. That's a whole nother conversation. We've gotten a lot of guests from one of my clubs from Meetup. But then also make sure that link is on Meetup too to register. I think that is definitely key. So you have an idea, and then you can, make sure they get reminders when they register.
Okay,
those go out automatically.
So follow-up question.
I lost you in the...
You use Meetup
sorry,
for
Jim,
all
yep.
registrations?
I use Meetup. I use Meetup, but not solely. Like that is just one method I have for advertising or promoting the club and the club events. Also use Eventbrite. You can make that public. Facebook. We use any channel we can. Chamber of Commerce. Hope that helps. Craig.
Hey, Terry. It's really a follow-up question.
Hey, Craig.
Basically what it was going to be, but if we wanted to put our open house, and I may have missed it because I was doing some changes and stuff, but if we want to put our open house on the D18 website, who do we contact? Softball. And also, how do we get it into the newsletter and get it to the broad base of D18?
So great idea. What you need to do is go to the District 18 website and go to the calendar and say you want to add an event. And by adding the event there, that information goes to a number of people who can then take action based on the answers that you provided. So the key is go to the calendar and add it there, and then we take it from there as the district newsletter editor and promotions and things like that. Sue.
I have 2 things. One, I've been to open houses that you've been involved in with, some on Zoom and some in person. And the in-person was even for a Zoom club. I would like you to tell us which you think works better And the second thing is through the chat, somebody mentioned that they joined because of an open house. And that's Naomi. And I wondered if we might direct a question to her as what made her join. Maybe she could give us some feedback on that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So in one of my clubs, it's a Zoom only club, but our VP of membership came up with this great idea. And this is where generating new ideas, when you're thinking about how can we attract members? What can we do? She generated this new idea where we have meet and greets. Our first meet and greet was a fabulous success, and they've been a success ever since. And so what we do is we have these meet and greets. We now make them quarterly to tie with our quarterly membership goals, where we invite anyone who has visited the club before but didn't join, or perhaps shown some interest in the club, and we invite them. And we do it like Cynthia said, we have a guest speaker, we do table topics, and we give out awards at that time. So we like to recognize our members at the time. Then we have food and beverages, and we make it very cozy. And that has worked out really well for us. So we don't necessarily call it an open house, but that's what it is. So you can give it a different name. Whatever you want to do to make it make it fun. That's it. And so let's talk to Naomi if she doesn't mind.
Yep. Nope, I don't mind at all.
And tell us, oh great. So tell us, since you joined it at open house, what was the one or two things that got your attention and made you want to sign up that day?
I know, first I had visited the club. We're a corporate club, so we have our meetings during working hours. Cynthia is actually in the same club, but and I don't know if she was referencing the same open house, but I just remember I attended the first meeting, like literally my first week of work, and there wasn't much follow-up from the club. So I kind of just got busy in my new job and kind of forgot about them. And then my director actually suggested I use that for a personal development since it was at work. And I seen they had a flyer about an open house. So I'm like, oh, this is a good time to go back. And they had a theme. I just remember it had something to do with an airline. The Toastmaster of the day, all of the role people that had roles had a picture of this airplane as their background. Like she was wearing like a pilot's cap and everything, oh, your flight attendant, Terry, is going to tell you about being a grammarian, and your flight attendant, Susan, is going to tell you how the timing works. And it was just really fun meeting. It wasn't, all stiff and stodgy and, kind of thing. But then after the meeting, which I found key compared to my first meeting, was that the VP of membership sent me repeated emails after. Hey, how did you like our meeting? What are there any questions you have? What's it going to take for you to join us? And that follow-up was key after that, great meeting where I just had fun being a part of that. I joined like that week following the open house, and I was actually voted in as my first officer role that summer. So I jumped in with both feet.
That's wonderful. And I didn't mention the theme idea, which is a great idea. Something that makes it fun, maybe makes it unique with your club. That's great. And then of course, like we said, the follow-up is so important. Thank you, Naomi, for sharing your experience. Sue, is there any other things in the chat we want to address?
The only other thing in the chat are some suggestions that Cynthia has made, and if she'd like to say those in a minute or two, that would be great. If not, I think we can wrap it up.
Yep.
Yeah, her comments are in the chat so everyone can see it. But I think at this point, we're going to be ready to move on. I would really like us all to thank Terry for this extensive, practical, and very helpful presentation. As usual, Terry, you were wonderful. We do appreciate it. And I thank all those who raised some good questions during the Q&A session. Please note
I
the way
appreciate it.
Terry's
Thank you.
her presentation showed her slides as a background, and that gave us a way to see more of Terry when she was presenting. If you'd like to know how to do that, please let Terry or Craig or me know, and we can share with you how you can use that. And with that, I think we're now going to proceed to the breakout rooms, and I'm going to turn it over to our Zoom master, and he will move people into the session.